Hi everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a different kind of video for you. I wanted to give you some information on the disease FIP. Now FIP is very common in Turkey and it's probably very common in other parts of the world too. So today I wanted to share with you some important information that will help you to cure your cat if your cat ever gets FIP. Now there are two forms of FIP. There is wet FIP and dry FIP. Now both of these can be diagnosed by symptoms, but they are very hard to diagnose with tests. So today I'm just going to run through the whole thing with you just so that you know what you're looking for, what you need to do, and what's the best way to help your cat if they ever get FIP. Look at these two monkeys here, look at you two.
So today we're diving into a topic that can be a little bit scary for cat owners. Feline Infectious Peritonitis is also known as FIP or FIP. So we're going to cover what FIP is and how it's connected to the feline coronavirus, the different forms it can take, and what options are available for the treatment and prevention. So let's get started. So what is FIP? So FIP is a serious and often fatal disease in cats caused by a mutation of the feline coronavirus. Now you see most cats come into contact with feline coronavirus at some point in their lives. It's commonly found in the environment and it's typically harmless. However, in some cats, the virus can mutate into a more dangerous strain that causes the FIP. So how do cats actually get FIP? It usually starts with an aerosol transmission or contact with contaminated feces, especially in multi-cat households or shelters where stress levels and overcrowding can be high. The virus can also spread through the shared litter boxes or food bowls, so hygiene is super important. When is FIP most common, you might be asking? FIP is most commonly diagnosed in younger cats between 6 months of 2 years of age. And interestingly, it's also been more frequently during the winter times when cats seem to get the FIP virus, and in early spring months, possibly due to the factors like the increased stress and the exposure levels. So remember that two forms of FIP exist: the wet form, which involves fluid in the abdomen, and the dry form, which leads to lesions in various organs and neurological symptoms. These are just some of the symptoms to look out for wet FIP and dry FIP. For the wet FIP, you have fever, lethargy, loss of appetite, weight loss, and abdominal distension, which is the wet form. You will see a fluid build up not on the outside but in the inside, which is causing like a balloon effect in the belly. Dry FIP can sometimes respond in a similar way to wet FIP, with having some leaky eyes, some pussy eyes. They can also lose their appetite. They can also show some damage to one eye rather than the other eye. You'll also notice that sometimes with the neurological FIP, which is the dry form, that the cat may lose some balance and the back legs may look weaker than the front, which is causing them to walk funny. It could also look like they're a little bit drunk sometimes. So this could be the start of the neurological FIP. I myself have dealt with a few cats with neurological FIP. I did have a wet FIP case around 8 years ago, but since then I have really seen a lot more neurological FIP in the last few years. This is my cat Betty, who had to have 84 continuous injections every day, which was called the GS-44 liquid. Now this is the most expensive one that you can buy on the market today, but it's all I could find in that moment and it absolutely worked. After 3 days, she was starting to walk again. Giving the injections can be very difficult, especially if your cat is not easy to handle. But if they are, then it's very good. But it is very scary when you do it for the first time. But you just have to stay positive and remember that you're saving their life. FIP can be a daunting diagnosis, but with early detection and the right treatment plan, there's hope for your feline friends. Be sure to keep an eye on your cat's health and consult with your veterinarian for any concerns. Although some may not know as much about FIP as some, so make sure you do ask them the right questions and see if you can find some support groups on Facebook. I'm going to leave all the information in the description, the Facebook groups, the support groups, and where you're able to buy this medication. There are some parts of the world where it's not legal to buy and you cannot get it, but there is places that do sell it and will send it to you. I'm now going to share with you some of the medication that can be used for FIP, that's wet FIP and dry FIP.
Hi everybody, so I want to give you some examples of the medication that's available for FIP. Okay, so first of all, let's go through the GS-44 liquid, which is this. Okay, this comes in bottles and each one will go by the weight of your cat. So if your cat is, for example, 3 kilos, you would need 1.5 meals to 2 meals per dose every day. So you probably need about 15 of these bottles for the whole course for the 84 days. This is what you inject into the skin, and you have to do different areas for the cat each time, so it stops them from getting any problems like any scars or any open wounds, because this liquid is rather thick. So when you do inject this liquid, you do need to use a big needle, around 18 to 19 to 22 catch. This way, it will be easier for you to put the liquid through to the skin. The smaller and thinner the needle, the harder it is, and it takes longer because the liquid is quite thick. So I will put down in a link below some Facebook groups to where you can get support, to where you can buy this liquid. This is the more expensive liquid to use for the treatment, but it's a very, very high success rate. It's 80%. Now, when you think that 100% of cats do die from FIP without treatment, 80% of cats do survive with treatment. So that's really good. Next one after the GS-44 is the tablets. We call them the Hero brand tablets. Now, these are also very expensive. These are easy to give to the cat. Now, I normally put these in some licky licks in the top of the licky licks, and then I just give the licky licks and they eat it. If you have cats that are quite difficult to give tablets to and injections, then you may need someone to help you, and you may need someone to help you give the GS-44 liquid. You're going to need someone to hold down your cat whilst you give the injection. The next one on the list that has just recently came out is a food supplement. Actually, we call it EIDD here in Turkey, and we get this from a company called the Petcore. Now, this is a cheaper version. Okay, we pay very, very little for these. These are food supplements, but they are known to be working for coronavirus cats and for FIP cats. Now, from my experience, I have used both. I have used the capsules and I have used the liquid, and we're currently using the capsules right now on another cat. Now, what I found with the capsules is that they did work a little bit slower compared to the GS liquid. The GS liquid worked within a day. I saw massive improvements. Betty was paralyzed, and then after one dose of this, the next day she was trying to stand. With these, I had a neurological FIP cat called Arthur. I did use them on Arthur and he did get over it, but it did take about 2 weeks to see any huge improvements. Okay, so with this one, this is capsules inside, little white capsules, okay? And what you do is you open them up and you can sprinkle the powder, because it's a powder form, into the food. If they don't like the taste of it, you can put it with water and syringe it down. Now, you would take 2 of these in the morning and 2 of these in the afternoon, depending again on the kilo of the cat. It could be 1 tablet, it could be 2. But the kilo is written on the back for you, and when you do buy from the company Petcore or from another company in your country, they will always explain to you the dosage of what you need to give depending on the kilo of your cat. Now, I found that they didn't really like the taste of this very much, but it was an easier option. It was less stressful and easier to give to the cat rather than injections and tablets, and it was also a cheaper option. But what I did find is that our Arthur did relapse on this. Now, Arthur relapsed when he was in his current new home, which was then really hard for the new owner to know anything that was going wrong with him. I noticed a few weeks in, I was checking on him constantly, so I was able to see any problems. But by the time we got to him, it was a little bit too late. We did restart the treatment again, and it just didn't work to its speed that it should have. We even tried the GS-44 liquid for 3 days, but unfortunately we was past the saving point for Arthur and we had to say goodbye. With the EIDD capsules, you only need to use them for so many days. So wet FIP is 45 days and for the dry FIP 65 days. But do bear in mind that you may need to go and continue with some extra just in case. I think it's always better to do a little bit more over the days that is expected with these medications, just because it just helps. Any days that you might miss out, that you may forget, or you may be late giving, you could give extra doses. The important thing is to make sure that you give them every day and you give them on the same times and you do exactly what you're told to do. The other thing with FIP cats is that you give them good quality food, you make sure that their calorie intake is high, you have to stay away from certain antibiotics when you're giving these kinds of medicines. So hopefully if there's nothing else wrong with the cat, then you won't need antibiotics. But if they have other infections like secondary infections, respiratory, eye problems, you know, maybe nose or flu, cat flu, kitty grip, however you want to call it, you may need antibiotics, but you can get a certain antibiotic that will be told to you for what you can use for whilst you're on this medication. There are many cats out there in the world right now that are suffering from FIP. And there are many vet clinics that are telling the cat owners that there is no cure. If they are, they're telling them that they have some medication. Some vets around the world do buy the medication from these people on the black market, okay? But then they add their profit on top. So be very aware about that. If you find that the prices seem extremely high, I mean double, we're looking at, let's say, a course of GS would probably cost you around $1,500 US, maybe a little bit more. But if your vet tells you it's going to cost you $3,000 US, think again. Please go and have a look on the Facebook groups, the support groups, and see if you can find it yourself, and then try to get some help thereafter with the FIP experts to make sure that you're doing exactly the correct things. Just be aware of that. There are vets that will help you, but it comes at a cost, an added cost to them. All right, there might be some vets that will help you like there was with me. My vet did help me with Betty with the injections and stuff when things started to get tough, when she started to gain back her strength. I could no longer do it on my own and I did need to go and seek help. But that is when I transitioned to tablets. So we started her off on the liquid when she was so weak that she just allowed me to give her the injections. As she got stronger, on the last 2 weeks of her course, I started with the Hero tablets to give her because it was so much easier. Giving these medications, like the injections, can cause some barrier between you and your cat after they have been cured. They may find that their area on the back or wherever you have been injecting them is quite sensitive, and they may be resilient to you touching them and stroking them again. So you will have to try and build back up your trust again. That's why I think it's down to you, how you feel, what you think is necessary for your cat and what you can afford. It can be an inexpensive treatment course if you do go with the capsules, and of course if you do go with the GS-44, I would say that this has a very good success rate, high rate survival for cats with FIP. But thank you again for watching today's video. I really hope that today's video has given you some insight to cats with FIP, and I hope that you've learned something today. All the information that I've spoken about today, I will post down below for you. And yeah, if you're still unsure and you want to learn more, check it out, read about it online, because the more you know about it before it happens, the quicker and easier everything is in the moment. When I didn't know so much, I felt like my world was crumbling down around me. I thought that Betty was going to die. We had just one last day. A couple of vets told me she's not going to survive, she's dying. And here she is, causing havoc with everybody, beating everybody up, running around, meowing, eating like a horse. But I couldn't wish for anything more. I'm just happy that she is still here with us today. And that is the reason why we kept her, because We spent so much time trying to save her life that I just bonded with her so much in a different way, and I just knew that I couldn't let her go. So thank you guys, and I will catch you next time for more cat info videos. Take care, guys.